freestyle on Blind. Tell us
Thank you.
everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How
Um,
was it? When did you go? Tell us everything.
okay. We also have a video coming out, a documentary and photos available on my Facebook page. So it was the Boris Simba Eternal African Tour, the first installment of it. We had a journey deep into the heart of the people who went with me. It was a
Hmm.
journey to their roots, to the roots of their heritage. The aim of the tour is to integrate the, the past, the present, and the future in the everlasting now. So we went first of all to Freetown. Initially, we got to Lunge, and of course we got the visas done over there. It's pretty easy to get your visa on arrival, so it wasn't any hassles. The We had two aspects of the tour, like I mentioned. The past aspect, we started off with a journey to Bunce Island, right? For those who are not in the know, Bunce Island is like the doors of no return in Sierra Leone, if you talk about Ghana. And it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
It's an island where unfortunately our ancestors were tortured and taken into enslavement to the Caribbean, the diaspora, and it's a place, really a sacred place for us to convey or to congregate. And we congregated with a wonderful tour guide, Abdullah, who we took the boat. Right, there was a small boat which we took as from Aberdeen, Aberdeen docking station, or Aberdeen, which is basically the place in which the boat lands when you take the boat from Lunge. You can also take a boat to go to Bunce Island. Okay, this was courtesy of the VSL, Visit Sierra Leone group, that has a website, and shout out to them. They did a great job. And Abdullah was one of their guides, so he took us to Bunce Island.
Hmm.
We got there, and we it was very important that we pour libation. Okay, that was the most important part. So he brought some flowers. I poured the libation in the Kemetic tradition to enlighten and appease the ancestors who were taken there, and to
Hmm.
uplift their spirit, and to show them the light so that they could have more peace. And it was a very meaningful endeavor, which we did. So we poured the libation to start, and then we commiserated on their what they had gone through, and then we did the tour. We went around the island. We saw the different the ruins of the buildings where the torturers, the kidnappers were, and where our ancestors were. And interestingly enough, brother Ivor was was we're pretty sure his ancestors might have been taken from there. So it was a quite a powerful moment, walking around, seeing where the women, the children, and the men were kept in different places, of course, and seeing the different structures, and the cannons and the stuff they used to rebuke people who are trying to, so-called pirates who are trying to take over the island, and the French. So it was interesting. The brother was pretty knowledgeable, Brother Abdullah, he was a brother of Timne heritage. He was pretty knowledgeable about the whole area, the different islands, and yeah, he definitely explained very well what was going on. So when we poured libation, we had the flowers. The goal we had was to take the flowers and put them on the grave of the two only black people who were buried there. Most of the people buried there were the torturers and kidnappers and the violent Europeans. They were the most of the people buried there, but there were two Africans. And as an honor to them, Abdullah was telling us, we poured a libation and put the flowers on their graves.
All right.
So that's what we did. we walked all around the island and we got to the graves of the two African people who were buried there. Um, and we put the um, the flowers on their grave and commemorated their struggle and their lives when we got there. Okay, that was the first piece. We have quite a few pictures on the and also the documentary will show you the libation, the whole libation. Everything is in the documentary there, so that you can see. That's what we did. So that was the homage we paid to the ancestors, and it was very meaningful. We also went to Tasso Island, um, just next to the island to have some food, and then we saw um a little place full of cabins where there's this, strangely enough, this British guy who's working with the locals, and they're doing some cabins so people can stay on the island, and just a touristic thing, right? So
Okay.
it was interesting. Of course, I would prefer to have Sierra Leoneans doing that, but he seemed like he was somewhat reasonable of a chap, of a fellow. So yeah, so we did that. Then we had food, and then that was the first part of the tour. Any questions on that part? Any?
Yeah, so that's a pretty This is a pretty serious way to start the tour. And did Brother Ivor know much about the history of Buns Island before going there, or did he just learn on the day?
No, he didn't know that much, but
Okay.
the guy did a great job. I talked to him as well before. So he didn't know that much, but he knew that that was part of the tour. We were gonna go to a place where an island where was like the doors of no return in Sierra Leone. He didn't know all the details, but he got all the details from Abdullah and myself when we were there. So yeah, if he didn't know, now he knows, and he knows a
Now you
lot.
know. Yeah, that's so that pretty much set the tone. I guess that was the first main thing that you did after,
Yes, the
I guess.
morning after we got there, the night in the morning, we got
Wow.
straight to business because we didn't have, as you know, with the schedules we have in the West, you don't have much time to hang around, and we just wanted to make sure the tour had a full impact.
Yeah. So how did he feel after that day, even during the day?
He being of the masculine persuasion, he wasn't really bawling and stuff like that. But he said it was a very strong moment for him,
Mm.
So he had a stronger re- recollection and the reconnection with the land, And he was saying he was pretty sure when we went to the women's area that because it's his matrilineal heritage, that one of his
Right.
ancestors might have been there, and yeah, it was very moving.
Wow. I can't imagine, especially since I missed out on that trip the last time I went to Sierra Leone. So I still haven't been there. I can't imagine
Next
how
time,
moving. Next time.
so we have another tour in 2024. Maybe you can come along. And,
Adimbawa.
yeah, we'll have a whole wonderful people there.
Yeah. So, for him, I guess it's almost full circle in a way to go back to the departure place of his matrilineal ancestry.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
it's something which is so meaningful after. I mean, he's 50 something. He's like um in his mid 50s, so
Oh,
it took him a long while to realize this dream. He always
that's
wanted to get back to some place he can call home.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So tell us more about the tour. So that was the past, and
Okay. And
you.
then we were still in the past a little bit. We went to the next day after. Well, we broke it into 2 days because we didn't want
Mhm.
people to be too flustered and to
Yeah.
deal with whatever they had taken in. So the next day we had a little bit of a relax. The next day, actually, sorry, was the day we went to start and visit the girls in the school just so they know who we were. So we took a little trip to Hope Academy, where we were
Mhm.
going to do our workshop. So this is the future aspect of the trip. So we just introduced ourselves to the staff and the girls, and we told them we're going to do a workshop and we're going to give them some books and school supplies. And then, yeah, that was the day. So that's basically what we did. After that, um, we the next day, if I'm remembering right, no, this one is sure. We did the Freetown tour. Okay, this is still in the past because we were going around all the different sites in Freetown, whether it's the Maroon Church, where as we know, the Maroons came back from Jamaica and they used the boat to build the roof, which is still in in the building. Maroon Church. We went in there and we saw. Imagine that. And thinking to myself, to my brother, I was telling them it must be worth a lot of money. But there's a signature. I don't know what year, maybe the 70s or 60s from Queen Elizabeth. There's a signature in the book there in the church book. And I'm like, yeah, if somebody gets that book and puts it on Google, they could make some good money. But it was
Oh,
interesting.
right.
And then, of course, we went down to the old Fourbe College, right? Which, of course, the oldest Western style university in West Africa.
Mhm.
So we saw the building. You know, it's a little dilapidated, but they're working on renovating it. Abdullah was telling us. Once again, it was Abdullah was our guide going down the Freetown tour. He was telling us how they've been trying to get money so it could be a heritage site and they could renovate it.
Mhm.
It's a very worthwhile endeavor, I think, because it's a piece of our Sierra Leone history, which is very strong. That's cool, right? Yeah, which
Yeah.
is very
And
meaningful. So we went there and we took some pictures. We went to the harbor there. Of course, as we know, Sierra Leone has the largest natural harbor in Africa, third in the world. So we went and checked it out. And and saw the place in which people were embarking and trade was coming in from time, from the time of the Portuguese to the British and whoever, whoever other. So that was interesting. We went there, so we went. Where else did we go? We went to. We started off the tour by going to the railway museum. I missed that part where they had the
okay.
old trains and the train workers who are very enthusiastic and pushing for trains to tracks and trains to come back. And how they're telling us all the stories of the trains that used to be in Sierra Leone, all the
Mm.
different stops like Hastings, which I took a picture with because that's where my mother's family was from. So the actual Hastings sign that they used to have up there. So it was a strong pieces of memorabilia in there of the era where Sierra Leone had trains, and it was very interesting, very educational. Then we also went to the National Museum and went around, saw the different masqueraders for the different ethnic groups. That was the interesting part for me. And they gave us a little bit of an explanation. The guy had a little information on the different masqueraders when they came out. Some of them were just for fun. Some of them were seriously masqueraders, which were secret societies. So
Mhm.
yeah, we showed the different masqueraders, and it was very interesting. And it related to another part of the tour, which is the welcome to the village, because I'll save the suspense, but the masqueraders were part of that welcome too. So
Oh,
we saw some of the masqueraders, which we would interface with further in the future. Yeah, and so then after that, the key part of the Freetown tour, we did like Thomas Peters and David George. We walked all the way to the cotton tree and we poured libation in the cotton tree. A
oh,
very powerful libation, called out the name of all the wonderful Thomas Peters, all our wonderful ancestors, Sierra Leone, and African in general. And yeah, did like they did because in our imagination or recollection, they did the same thing. That's the first religious service they did was around the country, right? and the cotton tree is there till now, and it's the elder of Freetown. So we had to pay homage to the cotton tree by putting the libation there and give thanks for all the heritage and history it carries with it, and all the ancestors who were gathered around it from time immemorial in Freetown from the 1700s and before with the Temne people. Because the history of Freetown doesn't start with the Creoles, of course. It starts
Mm.
with the Timmies, the people who were there for eons and eons, right? So we did that, and yeah, that was the Freetown tour. We pretty much got an understanding. We also went to a place where some of my grandmother's ancestors might have been taken because it was one of the encampments of the liberated Africans, just right next to the harbor there, where they they were like triaged or whatever back in those days. And yeah, I said, yeah, that relates to my broken colon that's on our grandmother's grave. That relates to Osibudu in the book, so it was very interesting to go check it out, you know. And yeah, that was a Freetown tour. Any questions on the Freetown tour?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've covered a lot that maybe the viewers might not, they might not understand the historical context. So you've talked about Fourvier College, you've talked about the railways, you've talked about um, even this bay that you're talking about. Is something that I may have heard about in passing, but um, yeah, it'd be great if you could elaborate on that a bit. The
Okay.
recaptive, is that what you're, yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, because
I'll elaborate. I know we have. Okay, we can make another one. Um, the um, the recaptive Africans were the Africans who, during the epoch of enslavement, the British were the first ones in of the wicked Europeans to abolish the very wicked crime against humanity, which was kidnapping our ancestors, the Maafa. So what happened is that once they did that, they would capture ships, Portuguese ships, Spanish ships, French ships, ships with people who were being tortured and kidnapped, and they would free those people in Freetown. That's part of why the name came Freetown. Okay, so they capture the ship. They would put the torturers in jail, and they would free the people in Freetown so that they would be freed. And that's part of my lineage. My Yoruba grandmother's heritage was a liberated African who had been captured and then freed by the British and set free in Freetown. Okay, and
okay,
sent to Hastings, most likely to help build up the structures and the little the little cities and the little suburbs of Freetown that they were building up, the different Yorks, the Hastings, for the Creole people there. So that's what happened. Okay, and so we went to one of those centers where they were doing the triage of the people, and other things is what was the other questions we had again?
yeah. So I mean, you've talked about Fourvier College, you've talked about the railway, but actually, that's um, I think that's great for providing a bit of context because you've already talked about Buns Island, so we know that was we know where that fits in the story or the history of Sierra Leone and West Africa and the transatlantic slave trade.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I'm just trying to, I guess, link it all together because the Maroon Church, that's another story in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Maroons getting passage back to, so they were they the first group to be repatriated as such,
No,
or
no, the Maroons came after. Remember, the Black Nova Scotians came in about the end of the 1700s, and then the Maroons came, and ironically, they were used and abused because they only came after Black Nova Scotians revolted against the governor because they wanted self rule and they wanted to be ruled by their own people, but
yeah,
the British had another plan for them, so they tried to impose a wicked European governor over them, and so they revolted. They revolted, and they were very successful and possibly could have won. but then the British shipped over the Maroons because they knew the Maroons were very good at warfare because they had been able to resist the British in Jamaica and flee to the mountains for a very long time. So they were very adept at warfare, and they had been the ones who they used when they took the Maroons first of all to Nova Scotia, right, to help them build the fortifications. And if you go to Halifax today, like I went there, they're still up till today. So they built some really good fortifications in Nova Scotia, in
Oh,
Halifax. Yes, so that's what they did. And then after that, when they had a kind of like a revolt in Sierra Leone, they shipped them to Sierra Leone, right? Because of course they were very African, so they were wanted to go back to Africa anyway. But they just used them, sort of like agreed with them that they would. The deal was that they would help them put down the uprising of the Black Nova Scotians. So unfortunately, they were used to put down that uprising, and so that the British could continue to rule um, the um, the Freetown.
yeah.
So that's what happened.
Thanks for thanks for clarifying that because it's not clear in my mind either. I've got bits and pieces. I've read different books. I'm not sure how everything fits together. So that's I didn't know that that's the role that the Maroons played.
But that's the role they
One
started
of
off
the
with
roles. One of the roles
initially.
that they.
But then, of course, they became a whole part of the Creole people in general. They just became a
Yeah.
regular part of the Creole people after that. But that's that. I think that's just their foundation story on how they got there. For the next part of the tour, maybe we just go in chronological order.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
part of the present, really. We and this is your favorite part of the tour. We went to visit Bruno.
So like, Bruno is a rock star. I just want to add this. Like, you have to tell the story because I can't keep a straight face. Your mum's really good at telling the story.
Yeah, I think you should. But yeah, so you can talk too. But Alexander was our guide. We went with BSL as well. Those three parts of the tour were with Visit Sierra Leone. You can check out their website. They're doing a good job. Um, Ironically, my friend was telling me that some of the people were from African ancestry. They had a whole group of them that were in Sierra Leone at the same time we were, but we never ran
Really?
into them. Yeah, they did a big thing where they took a whole bunch of people back too. So I mean, I guess we're not the only ones doing this operation, but we're the only ones that have the energy of Boris doing it. So that's the
True.
special energy we're using. So they can't compete. But yeah. So we went down to Takugama, or the chimpanzee sanctuary with Alexander, which is my former name, so it's interesting. Um, and yeah, we checked out the chimps. We had a very good guide as well. And he took us and explained to us that it wasn't a zoo. Of course, it's a sanctuary, so it's
Yeah.
not like they're just exploiting the chimps and trying to keep them as domestic animals or something. What it really is a rescue. They rescue these chimps from being pets. They're not
Mhm.
supposed to be pets. They're wild animals. Some
Yeah.
people take them as pets and play around with them and do funny things. And then they some of them were in danger of being mistreated, of being captured, or the chimps who are not. Let's just say that they get the chimps there that need to be rescued, and they try to acclimatize them to returning to the wild, and then eventually the goal is to send them back to the wild once they're ready for it, right? So
Yeah.
they keep them in groups. They try to mimic the wild as much as they can, so that the chimps can eventually. And they have a three-stage process where the chimps who are just recaptured are being trained, and then there's a second stage where they're more independent, and there's a third stage where they're really out in the bush most of the time. They just come to get food every once in a while. So it's a very interesting endeavor, and we like to support it. Yeah, so we went there and we got the information. Of course, the chimpanzee, if people didn't know, is the national animal of Sierra Leone. So even though it's Lion Mountain and we talk about lions, the chimpanzee is the national animal because unfortunately we don't have any more lions in there in Sierra Leone. We do have elephants, and the elephants have been spotted. And there was a leopard who was spotted as well.
Ooh,
Yeah, unfortunately, they mistreated the leopard. Somebody killed the leopard. But
oh,
yeah, it's one of those things where Sally had a video. It wasn't very nice. But yeah. So there seems to be some of these animals are coming back in parts of the country. I have a picture of Sierra Leone on Facebook. Well, at Takugama, as you know, where they have the different animals in the different parts of the country, right? So
okay.
the hippos, there's some hippos, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
and then there's
yeah.
also going to be some dolphins in York. But
Oh,
we were told about the dolphins, and we're told we could, but we never had a chance to go try and check them out. But
oh,
that's something which would be very interesting to go check out the dolphins. Okay, we
I
have
think
10 minutes. It says here.
okay. I think I've heard that there are birds in the forest as well, like some special tropical birds in the forest as well.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, lots of birds. I remember back in the days. Remember all the stamps we had? On every stamp had a different bird. The Sierra Leone stamps, because there are so many birds in Sierra Leone. Remember those stamps? They had, yeah, no, when we used to send, like those blue envelopes, those handwritten mails
yeah,
and stuff.
airmail.
Airmail, yes. We
Hey,
got
snail mail.
those birds. You're right.
Oh,
Lots of birds in Sierra Leone. You can go bird watching for days and years if you want in there. If you really
yeah,
want to.
I'm pretty sure there's maybe it's a center or like a it's not a sanctuary, but I know there's because there's a national forest. There's a place where you can go and observe the birds, I believe. I had there was a colleague of mine who did some work there.
Mm.
Anyway, a long time ago, but still, it's
The flora and
yeah,
the fauna is second to none. You are
quite
totally right.
famous
You can go
apparently.
there and have a really great nature time. So
Yeah.
I recommend that.
So
So
yeah, that's great. So yeah, so
let's
did you get to go down to the beach? Was that the
oh yeah,
present?
yeah, we went to the beach. After we went to the school actually. Every time we went to the school went to the beach because the school was all the way in York and we would go to the beach on the way back, you know. We'd go to Tokay Beach and have a little marinate in the water. We would marinate ourselves in the water.
Oh, I love your background. It's taking me back to
Yeah, this was
time
the
on the
beach. This was
beach.
like the beach we were in. This was the beach.
That's
It was a white sand
right.
deserted beach with nobody but us. Me and my buddy.
Yeah,
Only two people in there.
oh, that was
One time we went to
amazing.
the beach and there was actually fishermen in there. They were pulling in something. Oh no, they were pushing out the boat, the canoe into the water to go fishing.
Yeah, pretty magical. I mean, very jealous of your background.
Oh yeah, they were
Um,
working very hard. Those fishermen that day we went there, they were working so hard. We're like, man, this is some good cardio right there. You can tell why they're all cut. They're all jacked.
yeah,
So you guys are
that's
jacked
right.
for a good reason.
Exactly. When you do that kind of physical work for a living, that's it. You don't need an extra gym membership. It's all
Yeah,
right there included.
there's a very young boy there to get himself jacked. I'm like, man, you young lad. It was great to see the people there.
Yeah,
People are always very helpful. Always trying to help you, whatever the situation might be. So I appreciate that. I mean, the people are always. I mean, there might be issues and this and that, but people always trying to help if they can, and that's a great feature of Sierra Leone. You go
yeah,
someplace and you're having an issue, and some people, like ignore you in these places of the world, but over there, people, they try to help. They try to give you assistance, and especially with my foot and everything, because my foot is recuperating from my injury, and people are always trying to help and stuff like that. So, you know,
yeah. Well,
it's better to retire over there than over here. That's for sure.
100%. So I'm not close to retirement yet, but I'm definitely making my way south. That's for sure. Because it's really interesting actually. I was watching this interview of a lady who she's African American. She went traveling around for a year and then she settled in Senegal in Dakar.
Mm,
Um, and she was just talking about how um, the way that things can be super convenient in the West, but the trade-off with being where she is now is that there's so much more help available for doing,
yes.
just the smallest thing. So you might not be able to I don't know, you might not be able to get something delivered to your house necessarily. Like you don't have Amazon Prime, but you do
No.
have people who will go out of their way to, provide a high level of service. She says that she remembers a time when she would just come back from shopping and there would be one person to carry her handbag, one person to carry all the shopping, one person to put it away,
Yeah.
like there's so much more help available. Like even if there's no lift, there are people who will carry your things for you to the first floor, second floor, etc. And I was thinking, yeah, that is a trade-off. There's so much more help available, and people are, like you say, they take an interest in you as a
Yeah.
person. You matter. They even greet you.
Yeah.
That's the thing
For
I've
better or
loved.
for worse, people are interested.
Yeah, but I think it's just that acknowledgement, even just walking down the road, a complete stranger will say hello,
Yeah.
even
People
if
want to
that's
make
all
sure
they
you're
say.
eating right. They always want to make sure you have food, that you're not hungry, and they're checking in. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
people always want to make sure you're okay, you know?
yeah, where it's very easy, I think, to feel invisible. I think of where I used to live in the UK, and I mean, you hear about people dying, and like no one knowing
No
that
one
they're
knows
dead
when
for
they're in their
weeks,
apartment for days,
months,
rotten.
even
Yeah.
years. The worst case I heard was years. That
Oh,
doesn't happen. Yeah. And it was
yeah,
a black woman as well in the UK. It's like 2 years. It took 2 years for them
yeah.
to realize
Yes,
none
it
of her
was
neighbors
really
knew.
awful. And just an
Yeah.
example of this, to talk about the trip is, we didn't have, like you're talking about, facilities because we were there for a short time. We didn't get the TV. We weren't even watching it, but it was during the World Cup, right? So we had to
Mm.
watch some games. Of course, we wanted to catch, and we used to just go to the cafe in the corner there, and then all of a sudden we always getting cheers. People were taking care of us. They're like, "Yeah, this is the chair reserved for you." So,
Oh,
and this was just a natural thing because we were a little older than most of the people too, who were there because there's lots of young people around. So it's not even that we were from abroad. It's maybe also because we were a little elder. And yeah, so all of a sudden we became regular goers to the little cafe, and we were watching the games and talking to the brothers. But they were very respectful of making sure we were seated and taking care of that and stuff. So that's just an example of something which was off the beaten path, but which happened. We happened to be
yeah.
there during the World Cup and no TV, but we found a community way to watch the games with the support
Yeah.
of the local brothers and who were in the neighborhood. But I
Yeah.
mean, ironically as well, we also in the future part of the tour, which we'll talk about in the next part of this segment, we're also doing some work with the local community groups to assist the top achiever and the good soccer players so they can get some more assistance in the future. So, so we're trying to get involved in the community there in some small auspices we can, but then something small over here could be something big over there, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, so nothing is too small.
Yeah. So you got a warm welcome. I'm glad that, Sierra
Yes,
Leone welcomed one of its own back. That's
yes.
like a good warm welcome.
Yes,
And
two of its own. Remember, one of its own from ancient times. Two of them came back.